When you have inverse variation, the product of your two variables remains constant. So we can use this formula x times y equals k, where k is our constant, to find missing values. Okay, sometimes in an inverse variation problem, they'll give you x and y and ask you to find your constant. Sometimes they'll give you the constant in one of your variables and ask you to go back and find the other variable that's missing. And what I'm going to do down here is show you two word problems that go along with the same situation. One where we're going to be looking for our constant, and the other where we're going to use that constant to help us find a missing value. Okay? So we have the Hanebach family, and they can drive to their beach house in 6 hours at 50 miles per hour. So the two variables that we have are our time, 6 hours, and our speed, which is 50 miles per hour. Now if I take these two variables and I multiply them together, x times y, that's going to give me a constant. And the constant that I'm going to get is the actual distance to the beach house. So I'm going to plug in my x, which is 6. I'm going to plug in my y, which is 50 miles per hour. And I'm going to multiply those two things together to get my constant. So 6 times 50 is 300. And that's 300 miles to the beach. Now that distance is going to stay the same no matter how fast they drive or how long they drive. It's always going to be 300 miles. So that's why that's a constant. So what I can do now is I can use this constant to answer other types of questions. For example, how long will it take them to get to the beach if they drive 60 miles per hour? Again, our how long is our time, our 60 miles per hour is our speed. So what I can do is I know I've got my x times my y is going to equal my constant. But this time, I don't know how long it'll take. That's what I'm trying to figure out. So that's going to stay in x. I do know my speed. My speed is 60, so I'll plug that in. And I do know my constant, which is 300, okay, because I got that from up here. So now what I do to solve this problem is I'm going to divide both sides by 60, and I can find out that x equals 5. Now remember, x is our time, so what that means is it would take 5 hours. Okay? There's another way we can solve these problems. It's actually a little bit of a shortcut. We call this the product rule. Okay, now if you think about what's going on in the product rule, it says if I take my first pair of variables, x times y, that we know that's going to equal some constant. And if I take my second pair of variables, x times y, that's going to equal the same constant. So technically, if I multiply this set of variables together, it has to equal this set of variables, because we know when we multiply them out, they're both going to equal the same constant. So this shortcut can be used to help us solve problems. Okay, here's a situation. We know that y varies inversely with x, and we know that y is 5 when x is 12. That's my first pair of variables, x1 and y1. And what we want to find out is what x is when y is 15. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this formula, x1 times y1. This is my x1, and this is my y1 right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug those two values in, 12 times 5, and I know that's going to equal my second x, which is right here, which we don't know, and my second y, which is right here, which is 15. So now if I multiply this out, I know that 12 times 5 is 60. And on this side, I have 15x, okay, because I don't know what x is. And now I'm just going to solve it. I'm going to divide both sides by 15. And when I do that, I can find out that x equals 4. So this x right here is 4 when y equals 15. And that's the other way we can solve inverse variation problems.